today's webinar is all about our students. So we're going to be discussing their experiences of studying on the MSc in financial management, how they've managed working full-time while studying part-time, why they chose the University of Manchester and our business school, and much more. So we'll go into introductions very soon, but I just wanted to give you all a bit of an overview of the MSc in financial management first. So it's a part-time online and blended course. What that means for our students is they can continue to work full-time whilst gaining a recognised qualification from a highly ranked business school. So the majority of your learning and their learning is online. However, twice per academic year, you'll be invited to attend 6-day face-to-face conferences. Now, these are mandatory and are essential to the degree programme. So these face-to-face kind of conferences and interactions are opportunities where you can meet our academic faculty and team, meet your student cohort, experience the university's facilities, and of course work on those very important group assignments together. So there's much more to this Masters than what I've just kind of talked to you about, but I'm hoping the students that I've got with me today will give you even more of an insight into the course from their own perspective. So I really believe the voice of the student is the most important thing when you're sat there thinking about whether or not postgraduate study is the right kind of next step for you. So without further ado, I'm going to go on to some introductions from our lovely panelists. So I think I'll start in the Azores, and I'll go to Fabio first. So Fabio, welcome. Thank you. If you could say hello and just give us a bit of an insight into who you are, please.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and Happy New Year. So my name is Fabio Souza, and as already told you, I'm from the Azores in Portugal. Currently, I have 2 jobs. I'm a finance manager at a research institution, and I'm also a business consultant for companies that wish to apply for European funded programs. And I started the program in last September. So yeah.
Thank you, Fabio. I think now I'll go to Julia over in Germany. Julia, hi again, welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia Olberts. I'm from Germany, and I work as a financial controller in the telecommunications industry. And yeah, since I'm from Germany, I am based in the Manchester Center, and I started this course in September 2020. So I'm currently in my last year.
Thanks, Julia. Time flies, I think. Now I'm going to go closer to my home, which is James. James is based in Manchester. James, hi, welcome. Oh, you're on mute, James.
Hi everyone, Happy New Year. Yes, so I'm from Blackboard in Lancashire, but currently based in Manchester. So this week I've been actually in the University Business School, working through the assignments that are due in this week. I currently work for Monzo as a financial crime specialist. And yeah, I started the course in September last year.
Thank you, James. And now I'm going to go to Malta, I believe. Luana, welcome. Hello. Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Luan, I'm 23 years old. As you mentioned, I'm from Malta, and I'm currently working at the central bank as a financial analyst within the Financial Stability Department. And I joined the course in last September.
Thank you, Luana. And Frederick, last but not least, back to Germany. Welcome. Hi again.
Hi everyone. Also Happy New Year, and especially healthy New Year from my side. I'm Frederick. I am currently head of regional sales Western Europe at Continental. I'm part of the Manchester cohort as well, and joined in 2020 the Manchester program here at AMBS.
Thank you, Frederick, and thank you to you all for joining and being on this panel today. I know it's a busy time with assignments due in, so I really appreciate it. And hopefully it's going to be a good session, and you all listening will find it insightful. So I'm going to start with our first question, and it's to Luana, Frederick and James. So Luana, if you want to kick off this question. So can you tell me and our audience what initially attracted you to the MSc in financial management? Were there any aspects of the course that really stood out to you in particular?
I think, as you mentioned previously, first comes the decision to take on the master's degree, right? I mean, everyone has commitments, and I wasn't sure if I should take it. But given that the course is blended, it enabled me to work. I had just started working and continue with my studies. And I felt that it was important to continue with my studies given the uncertain times we're having and the uncertain times ahead. I think it's important to keep yourself skilled enough. So first of all, it was the fact that the course was blended. It enabled me to study and continue working. Secondly, it was the reputation of the university. I think that aspect was important for me because coming from Malta, we only had one university. So your CV is not, it's like everyone else's, you know? So I needed something, I needed a university with a reputation for a master's degree. And then obviously the study units. I mean, you have to have units that are of interest to you. And I felt that they were various, covering several aspects that were not covered in my degree. So it was something new for me, not revising, you know. I think those were three main aspects.
Great, thank you, Luana. That's brilliant. And Frederick, can I come to you next?
Yeah, sure. And I can also agree on what Luana just said. So what attracted me at that time was that I was kind of used to this format of studying because I also completed my bachelor's degree as part of a dual study program at Continental. And therefore I said, okay, I want to stay in such a mode, gain theoretical as well as practical experience at the same time and apply both vice versa. So that was the main point for me. And then I found this course at AMBS, and I was really keen on joining the course because I was convinced that I have here the flexibility with the online studies, but as well have then the opportunity to meet fellow students on campus, also have face-to-face courses with this blended learning concept. So that was why I said, okay, hey, let's join AMBS.
Great, thanks, Frederick. And here you are in your second year. So we obviously tick some boxes there for you. So that's great. And James, same question to you. So when you were thinking back in the day about where to go and what course to choose, what initially made this one stand out the most for you?
Yeah, I think we've covered a couple of things that are obviously the key draws to this course. One is the reputation of the university, which where you study carries a lot of weight on a CV, particularly when you are working closely with key academics within your field. So the likes of Julian, the likes of Paolo Petrone, being attached to the university, that carries a lot of weight if you are wanting to pursue further academics, which was the reason that I wanted to study at the University of Manchester. My goal is to carry on with academics and eventually do my PhD. So the university itself obviously carries a lot of weight. And then the other thing was to broaden my CV in a way that doesn't necessarily align with my current career path. So well, one avenue of my CV is working as an analyst in financial crime. But what I long-term wish to pursue alongside that is my PhD. So it's that opportunity to broaden the CV without not necessarily compromising anything on the career side. And my company can see that I do have this other aspect of my life, but it doesn't necessarily conflict with my work.
That's a really good point, James. And I think that this course has been designed with the working professional in mind. So it does allow, going back to what I said at the beginning, you to not take a career break. And I think this course complements your day-to-day roles, whatever it may be, and vice versa. So rather than kind of conflicting with it, it really complements and kind of offers you great perspectives to bring to discussions that you have. So thank you all for that insight. Now, Julia, Fabio, to you, we've talked about, I know Frederick, Luana and James have touched on the reputation of the university, but why did you both choose the business school, the Alliance Manchester Business School and the University of Manchester as your institution of choice? Fabio, can I come to you first?
Of course. So as my colleagues already told you, the school has a great reputation, not only in UK, but also internationally. it constantly ranks and at very high precision in almost all international rankings. It's also a triple column accredited, which gives it a lot of credibility next to employers. And even the university is one of the most targeted universities by employers in the UK. So you know that if you go to the job market, employers will already know the university and know about its reputation. Another thing that really was heavy on my decision was the university's reputation as a research institution and how much impact its research has on the industry. For example, my colleague James talked about Professor Julian. He actually won recently a prize, an award by the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, which of course is a big professional body. We also learned recently that some research at the university are developing algorithms that can have a very big impact in the fintech industry, and that's also very, very important. Finally, and this is also was national presence of the university. It has 5 centers spread across 5 major economic hubs throughout the world, and of course, it has also a vast network of alumni working in so many industries like management, consulting, banking, and high tech. So yeah.
Fabio, thank you very much for that insight. Julia, is there anything you'd like to add? Was there anything kind of, I know we've talked quite a lot and you are kind of the last one to talk about this, but anything you'd like to add about why you selected the Alliance Manchester Business School back in, gosh, 2 years ago now?
Almost 2 years, yes. Actually, I agree with everyone. So the most important aspects were already mentioned. The university has a great reputation, and it instantly attracted me. And in my organization, most people do their master's degree in a local private school here in Germany, and I also wanted to be a little bit different on my CV and have a more international context, enhance my English. So it was very clear for me to look for a university in the UK, and it's really a great fit in the end. I also like Manchester. I went there for the first time actually for the workshops. Yeah, but I'm very happy to be part of this Manchester community here, because it's so diverse and so international, and it's really great to study at such a good university.
Thank you, Julia. And it was great to meet you finally physically in person when you came to Manchester. I know, Frederick, you had a bit of a hard time when you came due to COVID.
I had the pleasure to stay even longer in Manchester.
Hopefully you'll be back this year at some point, fingers crossed. So my next question, and I'll go to James first. So obviously you're all working full-time while studying this course part-time. And it's challenging. It comes with its challenges, that's for sure. But James, can you tell me about how you found managing your time, working full-time, studying part-time? And do you have any kind of tips for students who might be worried a little bit about how they could manage their time?
Yeah, of course. I think in my case, it's a bit of an interesting one, because for the majority of my time so far, I've worked a night shift for Monzo. So I work between 9 PM and 6 AM. Which actually really fits the schedule for me really well. I'm not one to particularly sleep for a long amount of time each night. So being able to actually be in the university during the day, do my work during the day, definitely helps. The way I've structured my learning hasn't been necessarily to do so much each week, but has been to focus on my career for a couple of weeks and then give myself a few days to sit and really digest the university work. I feel like for some people, it might be a case of just doing a couple of hours a day or a couple of hours a week will really work for them. And that's one of the great aspects of the course. You do it as and when it suits you. And you don't need to necessarily worry about any sacrifices around other aspects of your life or your career. But for me personally, the way I balance my time well is to focus on work when I'm focusing on work, and focus on university when I'm focusing on that. And to anyone who's worried about it, you've just got to ask yourself, How much free time do you spend doing certain things now? Do you feel that you could sacrifice some of that and dedicate the time to your studies? And again, it doesn't necessarily need to be every day or every week so much time. Ask yourself, when can I fit it in, and can I fit it in? And if you can, there's no better way of learning, because you're in complete and utter control of that. And I feel that takes a huge amount of the stress off, and yeah, allows me to really sort of gain my focus when I am studying.
Great, thanks, James. And you're absolutely right. I think as a student kind of embarking on this journey, it's challenging, but you do find your rhythm once you get into the degree. You find what works for you, and you find kind of you're trying things and that might not work, and then you try again, and then you find what does work. So everyone's different. So that's why I'm asking three of the students this question, because I know everyone will work quite differently. So Frederick, can I come to you? How do you manage your time?
Yeah. First of all, I have to say, when you join the course, you have to be aware that there is some additional stuff on your desk, and there will be for sure a higher workload. Nevertheless, what I found out worked for me quite well is that I look at the things during the next week where I am pretty much looking forward to. So the things that I love, and structure my work as well as the studies around those appointments, either maybe just sports or meeting friends or going to a birthday party. You don't need to sacrifice everything, because when you do, you can also become very unmotivated very quickly. So that's how I said, okay, that works for me. And especially now with working from home, don't necessarily need to go to the office every day. That also helped me for sure, and COVID also, because there were also a lot of things that did not happen. So that was quite handy in this regard. But nevertheless, I would say structure is the main point, but also try to focus on the things that you like, and then it will work, I'm sure.
Thanks, Frederick. And it's almost like you should reward yourself with going to meet friends after you've worked on a little bit of your assignment, really. So reward yourself with a fun social activity after tackling the assignment or task in front of you. So I think that's quite a nice way of looking at it, really. Fabio, do you have any thoughts from how you've kind of structured your time so far?
I actually followed a different strategy than James. James was more about he works 2 weeks and then focuses on the course for 2 weeks. I was more about keeping consistency and trying to follow the schedule that the faculty provides you in the first semester. So I actually kept a small diary of how many hours I applied to the program each week, and I came close to the benchmark of 15 hours. So that's probably what you're going to have to invest each on average, again, each week for study. But yeah, as Frederick said, it's important. Yeah, it's important to structure your life around the program, but it's also very important not to simply focus on the program. Whenever you have time, do something that you like, just to make sure that you don't feel burned out, because this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. Okay, remember that you're going to be here for two years, and it's important to keep as much as possible a good balance, so you keep up with the motivation. Okay.
Yeah, and when I just can add something again to this, that's also the approach I followed, that I try to spend 2 to 3 hours a day, either in the morning or in the evening. And when you do this 5 working days, you already have like 10, 12 hours. And then there's actually a weekend that is free. So it's still manageable, I would say. And that's at least the approach that worked best for me.
Thank you all. And I think you're right. I mean, it's absolutely manageable. We've structured and designed this course with, like I said, the working professional in mind. It is challenging, but all masters are challenging. And I think if you're ready for that, then you can absolutely do that. We've got proof here in front of you on our panel. So if these guys can do it, you listening and watching this can absolutely as well. But like you said, it is a challenge, but you'll definitely find your rhythm and find what works for you. Julia, I'm going to come to you next, and obviously you're in your second year, so your final year. I can't believe how fast it's gone. But can you tell me a little bit about kind of what aspects of the course you've really enjoyed so far? Are there any particular units? Was it the time you came to Manchester? Can you tell me a little bit about what you've enjoyed?
In my opinion, all the course units so far were very interesting, and all the subjects are very hands-on. So of course we learn a lot of theoretical stuff, but it's always connected to some practical examples, and our case studies and assignments are usually based on real-world scenarios. So it's very interesting, and it's definitely more motivating to work on those real-life problems. And I think it's a very interesting course, and we have really interesting discussions with the students. And of course, I also really enjoy the community. I think it's one of the best parts here in this course. And coming to Manchester for the first time was also probably the highlight for me. It's just really different to interact with the professors, but also with the students in person. And I'm just really glad that I made those connections. And it was really refreshing, because we had 2 workshops completely virtually, which was a little bit disappointing. It was still great, and we could learn a lot and did all the group work virtually, but it was just completely different to be on campus together.
Thank you, Julia. And Luana, you've not been on the course that long, not as long as Julia, but can you tell me what you've enjoyed so far? Any units that you've particularly liked, or any aspects to the course that you've really enjoyed?
So far we had Foundations of Accounting and Foundations of Finance, and both units I had some experience in my bachelor's degree as well, so I can compare that at least. I think what I really enjoyed was the way the assignments are structured, and the fact that they are a case study. I mean, it's very practical. You get to learn how to apply what you heard in class. You don't get bored working on them. I think that's my favorite aspect about the course so far, the practicality.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Luana and Julia. Now, I want to come to James first for this one. Can you tell me a little bit about, obviously, your time on the course so far, and really provide us with an example of what you've learned that you may have put into practice in your role at Monzo? Yeah,
absolutely. So it's difficult to necessarily put into practice in my existing role what I am learning. And particularly when I look at the modules I'm going to do over the next 2 years, it's more going to be directed at the future of my career in terms of further academic study and hopefully a long-term career within the industry. But the nature in which we've been taught certain elements of the course, so for example, Foundations of Accounting, there's a real emphasis on looking past the numbers. There's a real emphasis on this meiotic thinking, which is around a more holistic look at how organizations work. And when you're learning things like that, it doesn't matter what organization you work in, it doesn't matter what necessarily you do as a job within that organization. It's more around shaping how you think. And giving me these alternative perspectives has really helped me personally look at my career, look at where I am and where I want to be, and really gave me a roadmap for what I want to do next. So I think that's a huge element of the course in itself.
Thanks, James. Fabio, you were nodding and are still nodding now. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think I would fully agree with James. The program is about finance and accounting, right? It's the fundamental aspects of the course. But the faculty actually challenges you to go beyond the numbers and really think about not only about the numbers, of course that's important, but also the context of the numbers. For example, in Foundations of Accounting, we had to do an assignment about the implementation of a new accounting system in an organization. Professor Junior naturally asked us to do some calculations, but they also challenged us to go beyond and try to think about what tensions could be created by the implementation of the accounting system and balance those against the benefits that new system is going to bring to the organization. In transactional finance, we had something similar regarding an investment. Was this investment worth the possible environmental and social impacts of building a new factory, for example? And I really like that aspect of really challenging us to think differently and go beyond the numbers. Don't focus only on the numbers, but also on their context.
Great, thank you, Fabio. And I guess there's quite a lot of reflection within that as well. So you kind of look at how you are being in your kind of day-to-day roles and reflect on the way you work and the way you kind of go about those challenges. So it's kind of building you really to be a well-rounded individual and someone who's confident to kind of sit in a boardroom and talk, like you guys have said, beyond the numbers. The numbers are great, they're needed and necessary, but it's kind of what is behind that. How have you got to that point? So that's brilliant. Thank you both. And Frederick, anything from your side? Can you elaborate on anything?
Perhaps just 2 examples. So I was just developing a couple of dashboards and also conducted a couple of sales analysis the last months. And there are parts of the data analysis and statistical technique course helped me a lot elaborating those dashboards. And also recently I was being part of a larger investment project. We had to develop or complete financial analysis, and there are parts from foundations of finance as well as corporate finance helped a lot, the IR calculation and so on. So yeah, there are things that you can also see in the real world that you learn in the course.
Brilliant, thanks, Frederick. Now, the majority of your learning is online. Luana, how has the teaching style been for you? What have you thought of online learning?
I think it's the right style for me, to be honest, because besides the fact that you can learn at your own time, so if I didn't have time this week, I can review the topics next week and so on. But even the fact, for example, that the lecture is recorded, you get to watch it again as many times as you want if there's something you don't understand. So, for example, recently we had a lecture which went through the assignment a bit, and I had some difficulties there. So I had the opportunity to rewatch it, pause it, and understand, I think, yes, it's very practical, and I think it's the right mode for me.
Great, thank you, Luana. And just to touch on what you've just mentioned before I come to Frederick, you learn on a platform called Blackboard. You're fully inducted onto that before you kind of embark on your studies, and that's where you'll kind of learn from the academics and watch those videos and read the content that's uploaded onto there. I believe, and hopefully you all agree, it's a great platform and it's easy to use and get your head around. So I'm glad, Luana, you've touched on that. Frederick, how have you found online learning? What's it been like for you for the last 2 years?
Yeah, as I said earlier, it gives a good opportunity or good mixture for you to handle your day-to-day work tasks as well as then the studies. And in addition to that, it helps you to also learn in your own pace. So as I said, I'll follow this constantly learning approach during the week. But if there's a day where I am not able to learn or something or study, then I can easily shift it to another day. So that gives you a lot of flexibility. You can also ask a question in online sessions. You can also rewatch these sessions, as Luana just said. And in addition to that, there's then the possibility to also get some of the workshops delivered face-to-face in Manchester. And I mean, that was pretty nice for me so far and a good experience.
Thank you, Frederick. Now, we've got students from all across the globe on this course. We've got 4 different countries just in this virtual room today. So it's a really diverse cohort, so cohort 1 and cohort 2. I guess it would be great to know how you guys have benefited from being part of such a diverse community, really. Fabio, I'll come to you. How has it been being a part of that group of students in your cohort?
It's been amazing so far. We have a very good cohort, and we gone from a very diverse backgrounds. We have people that are just starting their first job and they don't have a background in finance. In addition, we have also, and in comparison, we have people that have worked for years in their fields and they've become leaders in their organizations. I'm talking about head of departments, and it really is very interesting to see how these different backgrounds come together. Naturally, as you've said, we have people that join us from all different geographies. That also brings a lot of new ways of thinking and seeing how problems are done or are solved. And it's really been fun to learn with my colleagues. It's been amazing. The faculty really understands that the cohort has a very diverse background, and they try to make classes as attractive as possible to make sure that everyone chips in with their experiences and their perspectives of how to solve a problem or a topic should be handled.
Thank you, Fabio. Julia, how have you kind of benefited from being part of a diverse group?
I can only agree with Fabio that it's a really amazing experience. Everyone comes from different countries and different industries, and some people are executives or work in the financial sector for 15 years, for example, and other people just started working. So it gives you so many different insights and also some point of views that you usually don't get in your daily life, or that I also forget in my daily work. So it's really great to have all those different opinions and discussions. And I think working in such a diverse group is also really helped me to enhance my social skills. And in general, it's great to build a network with so many different people. It's always useful to know someone in a different industry, in a different country.
Thank you, Julia. And I think you're right. You kind of make these connections that were with you for the 2 years, but they're lifelong connections, I think, especially if you make that effort in. So you don't know, Julia, you could be ringing Fabio up in 10 years' time and asking him a question, or vice versa. So it's really great to have you all together and part of this course, because you not only learn from the academics and they're world class, but you learn from each other. And I think that's what kind of makes this course stand out, because you're learning from people from across the globe who've done different bachelor's degrees, who are in different industries. It makes the course exciting, I think. So James, is there anything that you'd like to add before we move on to the final question?
I think it's a case that it's a real snapshot of society, the group that we have in particular. And the varied backgrounds gives you the opportunity to get those additional perspectives, that the people who can really challenge you. And I think it's really good that the character of people that are in our cohort, they're not afraid to challenge. And if there are people who might have a thought but don't necessarily immediately want to volunteer it, I think a lot can be said for the way the professors almost tease that thought out of people. And that's a huge draw for me, is that they really welcome those perspectives, and those perspectives can really help you develop your assignments and the way that you work 100%.
Great, thank you, James, and thank you to you all. So just before we move on to the final question, to all of those listening live today, if you have any questions that you want to ask the panel or you'd like to ask myself, feel free to put them in the chat function. If not, I will put my email address in there now, so you can email me directly and I'll get back to you at a later stage. But this question is to you all. So I'm going to go from the top left of my screen, which is Julia. What advice would you give to students who are sat there thinking, oh, I'm not sure if it's the right course for me? What advice would you give to someone who's sat there thinking that today? Is there anything you'd like to say?
It's difficult to give only one advice. I think you should make sure that you really like finance, because if you're not that interested into finance, it will probably be hard to find some motivation and to go through everything. But in general, I wouldn't worry too much, because I also wasn't sure at all if this is the right course for me. But I think it's really doable with a good time management, and after some time you find the right balance for you. Just as Frederick also mentioned, it's not the right way to not do any social activities anymore, or to force yourself to study every single day. It's very important to make some breaks sometimes and take also time for yourself. That's a very important thing that keeps me motivated, and prevents that I'm not going crazy with this course, because right now it's also very hectic with 3 assignments, but just really important to not forget about that. And after all, we also have a very supportive community, so you should not feel alone if you struggle in a course, and you can also always talk to someone.
Thank you, Julia. And I think you make a good point. It's kind of being kind to yourself when you are feeling a little bit stressed or anxious, and reaching out to people who probably feel the same. If you're working on all these assignments, you're probably not alone. So you guys have a WhatsApp group, a main WhatsApp group, and other individual ones as well, or smaller groups. So that's a great way for you guys to stay connected with each other, I'm sure. Frederick, what's your advice that you'd like to give prospective students who are thinking about this degree?
Yeah, my advice would be do it. But as with everything in life, you need to be aware that there are ups and downs. This is also here the case. So yeah, sometimes it can be tough, especially as Julia mentioned, now when the semester comes to an end and you need to complete a couple of assignments while working. This isn't that easy always, but I would say it's worth and it pays off later on. And I think I am, and you will be as well, proud of yourself if you can tick a box and say, yeah, I've completed now a new course, and this is the direction I want to go towards the end of this master's degree.
Thank you, Frederick. James, to you next. Any advice from your side?
I'd like to say timing is everything. I'm not naive to the fact that our role here today is to kind of sell what we're studying, and it is absolutely 100% I would recommend to study this course. But what you will see from the panel and from the cohorts that we have, there are such a diverse range of backgrounds, but also ages. And it is fair to say that the course might be for you, but it might not always be right now is the perfect time. The thing about this course is that you don't need to do it immediately. You don't need to do it right now and relentlessly and not forget about it. You can pursue it later on in your career. So if you are feeling like you want to do this course, but you can't fully see yourself doing it right now, don't fear that, embrace that. If there is a course out there for people of varying ages and varying backgrounds, this is the one.
Thank you, James. And that's a really good point. Timing is everything. I spoke to students who spoke to me and said, I'm not quite there yet, I'm not ready. You need to be sure that you are ready, because what you don't want to happen is you join something and you feel so overwhelmed that you possibly have to pause your studies very early on, or you have to withdraw completely. So you want to be sure that, yes, this is the time is now and the time is right for me. So it's worth sitting there and thinking about it, but not on your own. That's where I come into kind of play. Sit there and talk to me about it. I don't mind if we have a 15-minute call or a call that lasts an hour, as long as we're getting to a point that you feel ready to either embark on that journey now or 6 months, 12 months time. So speak to me about it if you're wondering whether or not you're eligible for starters, or whether or not it's going to be a good move for you. Fabio, I'm going to come to you next. Is there any advice you'd like to give to prospective students listening today?
No, it basically I agree with my colleagues, and I also agree with you. If you are unsure about the program or need more information, if you need to know if you're a good fit to the program and if the program is a good fit to you, reach out to the admissions team. Considering the feedback that I've got from other students, I can say that all students basically are unanimous in saying that our admissions team is amazing in terms of providing the information and really guiding students throughout the admissions process. And they are amazing. And really take that first step if you are unsure, and also just have some questions about the program. Okay.
Thank you, Fabio. And last but by no means least, Luana, I'll come to you. If you could kind of finish up and let us know any advice you'd give to prospective students.
My advice, it's a commitment. So you have to have your time, you have to commit a certain amount of time. And it doesn't matter how much time you commit, how you spend your time. I mean, some like me, I like to spend some time every week on the course, but as my colleagues mentioned, it's not the same for everyone, but you have to be committed. You don't want to forget about it completely, because then the assignments come and the work piles up. It's a master's course, so there's a considerable amount of work, So that's my advice, to be prepared, even for the workshops, for example. There are the readings which have to be done in advance. My advice would be to take your time with the readings as well, to take your time to understand the content. At the end of the day, that's what matters, to learn something new. And to learn something new, you have to put the effort in it. So that's my advice.
Thank you, Luana, and thank you to you all for being a part of this event today. Is there anything you guys want to say as a last minute thought, or are you happy for me to wrap up the session? All happy? Great. Thank you all. I know you're in amongst assignments. You've got assignments coming out of your ears, so best of luck with those. James has got one in his hand, so I'm sure you're going to be cracking on with that today, James. But guys, it's been a pleasure to have you all in one virtual room, and hopefully we'll see you on campus soon, fingers crossed. It'll be great to kind of meet you, some of you again. Frederick, I know I've only seen you virtually, but you were literally about 100 meters away from me in a hotel.
Yeah.
So hopefully meet you face to face soon. And Luana, I really hope to meet you in person as well. But really appreciate your time, guys, and enjoy the rest of your January. Good luck with your assignments, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.